I interviewed her, Dan, when I was at NBC about creating IT cosmetics. And she did have the high, I can't even do it, my voice is too low, but she had the high squeaky voice a little, but she's really leaning in now in her little podcast with Megyn. And she's gone next octave up. And the two of them have the weirdest dynamic. And so in this podcast, Megyn does her perfectly curated life thing, but she's allegedly wearing no makeup. Meanwhile, she's got like the perfect blowout, you know, and like she's completely camera ready, except she didn't put eye makeup on. And she also is pretending like she's crying. And we did a zero in, like we zoomed in just to see. There isn't a tear in sight, Dan. Look at this. I invite the viewers to take a close-up look at this. Where's the tear? There's nothing there. Look, it's an actor's trick.
I resent you. I resent England for sending your secondhand royalty to us. Because now we got to deal with this. Yes, I just love the fact that they thought that they were going to be royalty here in America. So there was an assumption that and they were almost there. I mean, they were going to get gigs everywhere. There were Netflix, Hulu, Apple TV. Everybody was just going to give them millions and millions. And then they had to sit in a room with them and realize, my God, they're vacuous. He's a nice guy, apparently, but I mean, just thoroughly vacuous. She leads him around on a rope, and and it's like, that's it. That is the kind of sitcom I want to see.
I'll tell you the other thing.
A reality show.
Is Meghan Markle the world's most unconvincing actress? The Duchess of Sussex recently broke down in tears on her new podcast, except there weren't any actual tears. This bizarre, tearless crying moment has media personalities across the spectrum, from Greg Gutfeld to Megyn Kelly, united in their skepticism. But what's really happening behind Meghan's perfectly curated emotional displays? Meghan's podcast moment went viral, not for its vulnerability, but for what many are calling one of the most awkward attempts at emotional manipulation ever caught on camera. Let's break down exactly what happened and why critics are saying this perfectly exemplifies the Markle method of manufactured authenticity. When Meghan launched her new podcast, she didn't just share stories, she delivered a full-blown emotional performance. It's not about the grandeur of a gesture, it's about I see you, I'm nurturing you, and I see you so deeply. And then it happened. Her voice cracked, she paused dramatically and proclaimed, "Of all things, it's making me emotional. I have full body chills right now." But eagle-eyed viewers immediately noticed something strange. Despite the theatrical voice break and claims of being overcome with emotion, Meghan's face remained completely dry. No redness, no tear tracks, not even a hint of moisture in her eyes. Just perfectly applied makeup on a perfectly composed face. This disconnect between what we heard and what we saw ignited a firestorm online. The internet did what it does best. It zoomed in, analyzed, and mercilessly mocked what many saw as performative emotion. Where's the tear? There's nothing there, critics pointed out. It's an actor's trick. Meghan Markle's tear ducts are working overtime, except apparently they forgot to bring the actual tears. But why would someone fake cry on their own podcast? That's where things get interesting. This isn't just about one awkward moment, it's about a pattern that media personalities have been highlighting for years. Greg Gutfeld, never one to hold back, absolutely demolished the performance on his show. With his signature no-filter approach, he compared Meghan's tearless crying to emotional manipulation and called it the kind of sob that sounds powerful, soul-wrenching, moving, except your face forgot to RSVP to the drama.
She pulled out all the stops. Here is the intro of the episode.
Megyn, Duchess of Sussex, in her first ever podcast interview.
It's happening! It's not about the grandeur of a gesture. It's about I see you. I'm nurturing you and I see you so deeply, and I love being able to see your growth. Of all things, it's making me emotional.
I have full body chills right now.
For them to be able to look back and go, oh my gosh, she has loved us so much.
Why don't you like her?
Let me count the ways. There's nothing I like about her. She is a malignant narcissist who cannot get enough of herself while she simultaneously plays the victim. My castle's too small. The queen is mean to me. They won't let me call myself Her Royal Highness anymore, but I'm going to put it all over my stationery and on the gifts that I give to my friends, while she never stops whining. And at the same time, and I'm getting all worked up, I'm a founder. I'm over it. She's not important. She married for money. It's very clear she bagged the elephant. She was thrilled she became a, quote, princess.
Gutfeld's take was brutal but straightforward. He believes this is all part of Meghan's brand strategy. According to him, she's mastered the art of weaponized vulnerability, using emotional displays strategically when criticism rises or public opinion wavers. It's emotion as marketing, tears as brand currency. What makes this situation truly fascinating is how critics from completely different ends of the media spectrum arrived at the same conclusion. While Gutfeld delivered his takedown with comedic flair, Megyn Kelly approached it with cold, calculated precision, and both saw the exact same problem. Kelly, known for her analytical style, didn't just mock the performance, she dissected it like evidence at a trial. "Why do I not like her? Let me count the ways," Kelly began. "She is a malignant narcissist who cannot get enough of herself while she simultaneously plays the victim." Kelly's assessment went deeper than just the tearless moment. She laid out what she sees as a consistent pattern. Whenever Meghan faces criticism, another emotional revelation conveniently appears. And these emotional moments are never messy or authentic. They're always perfectly polished, professionally lit, and strategically timed. "She's the most insecure person I have seen in the public eye in a long time," Kelly stated. "That is why everything had to be perfectly curated." She pointed to Meghan's lifestyle brand activities as further evidence. Who the hell picks berries in a white cashmere blouse and white pants? Literally, no one on earth does that. The podcast scenario became even more bizarre when examining the context. Here was Meghan, presenting herself as an everyday working mom while surrounded by production crews in a multi-million-dollar studio setup. "This is not what it's like to be a working mom," Kelly pointed out. "What it's like to be a working mom is to come downstairs with no makeup on. You're barely out of your pajamas and you're like, 'Did you eat? Let's go, you're late, get your backpack.'" The disconnect between Meghan's claimed reality and her actual circumstances couldn't be more stark. This is someone who preaches authenticity while maintaining perfect lighting. Someone who discusses the struggles of working motherhood from a position of extreme privilege. Someone who claims to be silenced while having exclusive deals with Netflix, Spotify, and more media platforms than most public figures could dream of. But the real question isn't whether Meghan cried real tears. It's about something deeper: credibility. When you build your brand on emotional authenticity, but that authenticity starts showing cracks, what happens to public trust?
He embarrassed his family for fun. Now his tell-all's #1. It's true. Prince Harry's book has now become the fastest-selling non-fiction book in the history of the UK, selling 400,000 copies on Tuesday. It's the only book to ever sell more copies on its first day than Harry Potter, which also was a work of fiction. Anyway, the book also reveals a whole bunch of weird crap. A text message fight between Meghan and Kate. How does a husband get that? And why does he care? Also, how Prince Charles used to do headstands in his underwear every day to alleviate injuries from polo. Not polio, polo.
In high-definition audio with background music and an editing team.
She gave an interview to People magazine. She says she loves building this safe haven and show with her daughter. And she says, being able to have my own little girl, as I've spent so much of my life championing the rights of girls and women, knowing this is something that I can create in front of my daughter and teach her what it's like to be a working mom. This is not what it's like to be a working mom. What it's like to be a working mom is to come downstairs with no makeup on, you're barely out of your pajamas, and you're like, did you eat? Let's go. You're late. Get your backpack. Come on. If you do this again, I'm not bringing it to you at school. Let's go. Good. Right. Grab anything. Doesn't matter what the sugar content is. This is such a farce.
Public opinion seems to be shifting. A Newsweek poll mentioned in the transcript shows Meghan's popularity dropping 8 points, with 33% of people reporting dislike for her compared to 31% approval. These numbers paint a picture of a public figure whose carefully crafted image might be unraveling. The Meghan and Harry saga has always been controversial. Their departure from royal duties, their explosive Oprah interview, Harry's tell-all book Spare. Each chapter has been meticulously rolled out with precisely calibrated emotional revelations. But, as Kelly pointed out, when you cry wolf with dry eyes too many times, people stop listening, even when the wolf is real. What makes this situation uniquely bizarre is the fundamental contradiction at its core. Meghan positions herself as someone oppressed by the system, desperately seeking privacy, yet simultaneously broadcasts her private pain through global media platforms. She wants sympathy without scrutiny, visibility without accountability. Privacy, it seems, is best protected by streaming it globally on Spotify, complete with sound design, orchestral interludes, and a 3-act structure, as one critic put it. Nothing says, "leave me alone," like strategic revelations and 4K audio. The tearless crying incident has become symbolic of this larger contradiction. It represents what critics see as the fundamental inauthenticity of the Markle brand, emotions that seem programmed rather than felt, vulnerability that appears calculated rather than genuine. The irony hasn't been lost on media personalities or the public. Meghan's podcast partner, Jamie Kern-Lima, has also come under scrutiny for her exaggerated reactions during their conversations. In one clip, Lima responds to Meghan with such over-the-top enthusiasm that critics couldn't help but mock it. "I love that your eyes are sparkling right now. Oh my God." The reaction prompted disgust from commentators. "I threw up in my mouth. There's something wrong with her. Who communicates like that?" This interaction further highlighted the performative nature of the podcast. Emotions cranked to 11, authenticity seemingly abandoned in favor of theatrical display.
Meghan and Harry, who are planning to come and hijack the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. And I know you find them a constant source of hilarity as well. They don't ever intend to make us laugh. They just make us laugh through their
I gotta
absurdity.
tell you, I love that her woke cartoon on Netflix got canceled. There's a great story behind this. The cartoon is called Pearl. It's about a coming of age, right? Which is a code word for nauseating, self-involved tripe. So what happened is, this is my favorite part. So it's like a young girl's rise in social justice. And you know who Meghan's cartoon is inspired by? Megyn. She made the cartoon. It's inspired by her, which is amazing. But that tells you everything. That in the woke world, it is not actually about helping people. It's a disguise. It's a virtue signal that helps you, that makes you look good.
Right.
And there's perfect evidence.
What's particularly striking about this tearless crying saga is how it's united critics who would normally agree on nothing. Gutfeld and Kelly represent polar opposite approaches to media commentary, one built on chaotic humor, the other on methodical analysis. Yet both immediately identified the same issue with Meghan's performance. This convergence suggests something fundamental about how we perceive authenticity. While we may disagree on politics or perspective, humans seem to have a shared instinct for detecting when emotions don't quite match the situation. It's the uncanny valley of emotional expression, close enough to be recognizable as an attempt at emotion, but off enough to trigger our internal alarms. The public reaction has been merciless. Memes comparing Meghan's tearless crying to bad acting flooded social media. People dissected the footage frame by frame, searching for evidence of actual emotion. The consensus wasn't kind. Many saw it as another example of calculated performance rather than genuine feeling. For Harry and Meghan, this represents a significant problem. Their entire post-royal brand is built on authenticity and speaking their truth. If the public begins questioning whether that truth itself is manufactured, their carefully constructed narrative risks collapse. The couple has faced criticism before. Their Netflix documentary drew mixed reviews, and Harry's memoir Spare became controversial for its intimate revelations about royal life. But this tearless crying moment seems to have struck a nerve in a different way. It's not about what was revealed, but how it was revealed. When Harry and Meghan first left royal duties, public sympathy was largely on their side. Their narrative of escaping a restrictive institution resonated with many who saw them as modernizers challenging an outdated system. But as Kelly pointed out, when she married Harry, the press was wonderful for her. The British people loved Harry, and they were delighted to see him so happy and in love, and she was playing the role of demure, supportive partner to a T. What changed? According to Kelly and others, it was Meghan's continued positioning as a victim despite her obvious privileges and power. The narrative began wearing thin as the couple signed deal after deal while claiming oppression. The tearless crying seems to have crystallized this contradiction for many viewers. Gutfeld's take was even more blunt. He suggested that the couple has become a punchline rather than a power couple. Thoroughly vacuous in his assessment. He's a nice guy apparently, but thoroughly vacuous. She leads him around on a rope, he claimed, suggesting that the couple's carefully curated image masks a less flattering reality.
The real damage begins.
She is the most insecure person I have seen in the public eye in a long time. That is why everything had to be perfectly curated. Who the hell picks fucking berries in a white cashmere blouse and white pants? Literally no one on earth does that. And like this garden, which is like the most over the top, like we're all supposed to go, Maureen, to make our breakfast in the morning out to our gardens and pick our berries, our raspberries, our strawberries, our blueberries, our snozberries, and cut our mint, and then cut our flowers that are edible. But don't worry, she's a woman of the people. You can grow those just on your windowsill at home in New York, your edible flowers.
And don't forget your local beekeeper.
Yeah.
Your local beekeeper.
Oh, yeah, because she has a bee hive, which she goes to. That's how they open the whole series with her bees. And like, don't worry, if you don't have this, just go to your local beekeeper. Clearly, we're living in different worlds.
And while Gutfeld's mockery drew laughter, Meghan's breakdown drew
That his heart is even more beautiful.
I love that your eyes are sparkling right now.
Oh.
Oh my God. Dan, I threw up in my mouth.
Yes. Yes.
Dan, when you do interviews on your show, do you do the Jamie Kern Lima reactions? Yes. Oh my God, there's something wrong with her. What? Wow, who communicates like that? She's the only thing saving Meghan Markle, because between the two, she's even weirder. But Meghan Markle, this is a tell. Okay, this is a tell. It's the same way on Valentine's Day. You see people post like, my rock, my life partner, the person who saved me. Guaranteed that guy is cheating on her and she knows it.
And then there was that time that Harry suffered frostbite on his penis from a trip to the North Pole. You sure you didn't get that from Meghan? Yeah. It's contagious, frostbite. I think. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. The best part, Harry's book is titled Spare, which comes from Harry's claim that he was bred only to offer spare organs to Prince William. I know. Although they're both out of luck generating hair plugs.
Perhaps most damning for Meghan is the growing perception that her emotions themselves have become commodities, products to be packaged and sold rather than genuine expressions. As one commentator put it, her emotions deserve their own dressing room and a trailer, maybe even an IMDb page, because truly at this point, her emotions need their own agent. The tearless crying incident reveals something important about celebrity in the digital age. We've entered an era where authenticity itself has become performative, where being real is just another carefully calculated brand position. Meghan's podcast moment exposed the contradiction at the heart of this dynamic. The more desperately someone tries to appear genuine, the more manufactured they often seem. What happens next for Meghan and Harry remains to be seen. Their popularity has declined, but they still maintain significant platforms and influence. The question is whether they can recalibrate their approach to rebuild credibility, or if they'll double down on the emotional displays that have generated such skepticism. One thing seems certain: the tearless crying moment has become emblematic of a larger disconnect between the couple's messaging and their actions. It's the perfect symbol for what critics see as calculated vulnerability packaged as raw authenticity. So what's the verdict? Is Meghan Markle truly emotionally overwhelmed in these podcast moments, or is she engaging in strategic emotional performance? The evidence seems to lean heavily toward the latter, but perhaps that's the wrong question entirely. Maybe the real insight is that in today's media landscape, the line between genuine emotion and performance has blurred beyond recognition. Maybe we're all performing to some degree, just with varying levels of skill and self-awareness.
When she married Harry, the press was wonderful for her. The British people loved Harry, and they were delighted to see him so happy and in love, and she was playing the role of demure, supportive partner to a T. I mean, very well. It wasn't until she started to make her positions clear and continuously play the victim from the palace that people started to get a feel of who she really was. And then the public opinion turned, and so did the press.
Is getting whiplash.
You couldn't avoid the promo for this summer if you turned on your television. Trying to get her back into people's minds so she can relaunch her career, maybe improve her likability factor. Well, it's not working. A new poll conducted by Newsweek shows that her popularity is down 8 points from June. She's underwater in her net approval rating. 33% of people reported their dislike for her. 31% said she was okay to them. I guess the rest don't have an opinion. But she's going in the wrong direction. Harry's liked by a few more, but they're still both disliked. And so you tell me whether it is possible at this point to rehabilitate Meghan Markle.
For Meghan Markle, the problem isn't necessarily that she's performing. It's that the performance has become visible as performance. The tears that never materialized represent the gap between the emotion claimed and the emotion displayed, between the authenticity marketed and the authenticity delivered. In the end, the tearless crying saga isn't just about one awkward podcast moment. It's about our collective hunger for authenticity in a world increasingly built on curation. It's about the impossible contradictions of modern celebrity. Be vulnerable but perfect, open but controlled, emotional but composed. Meghan Markle may have failed to produce actual tears, but she succeeded in creating a perfect metaphor for these contradictions. A cry that embodies the hollow center of performative authenticity. And in that sense, perhaps her tearless moment was more revealing than any real tears could ever be. What do you think? Was Meghan's emotional moment genuine or calculated? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss our next video.